Have you ever wondered what Europe was like during the so-called Dark Ages? While many history books paint a picture of a continent in decline after the fall of Rome, there was one corner of Europe that was experiencing a golden age of its own. I'm talking about Al-Andalus, the Moorish-ruled part of the Iberian Peninsula, what we now know as Spain and Portugal. For nearly 800 years, from 711 to 1492, this region was a vibrant hub of culture, science, and innovation that would profoundly shape the course of European history. So, how exactly did the Moors change Europe? Let's dive in and uncover this incredible, often overlooked story. First, let's talk about knowledge. After the Roman Empire crumbled, many of the great classical texts from ancient Greece and Rome were lost to most of Europe. But in the Islamic world, scholars were diligently translating these works into Arabic. When the Moors established their rule in Spain, they brought this treasure trove of knowledge with them. Cities like Cordoba, Seville, and Granada became major centers of learning. The Caliph of Cordoba, Al-Hakam II, amassed a library of over 400,000 books, an astronomical number at a time when a monastery in northern Europe might have a few hundred at most. This wasn't just about preserving old texts, it was about building upon them. Scholars of all faiths, Muslims, Jews, and Christians worked together in these cities, translating works on medicine, astronomy, mathematics, and philosophy from Arabic into Latin. This translation movement, centered in places like Toledo, was the spark that reignited intellectual curiosity across the continent. These texts made their way to the newly forming universities in Bologna, Paris, and Oxford, directly fueling the intellectual awakening we now call the Renaissance. Without the Moors acting as a bridge to the classical past, the Renaissance might have looked very different or happened much later. Now, let's get into the nitty-gritty of science and technology. The Moors were pioneers. In mathematics, they introduced the Hindu-Arabic numeral system, 0, 1, 2, 3 to Europe. Can you imagine doing complex calculations with Roman numerals? It was a nightmare. This new system, along with the concept of zero, revolutionized trade, engineering, and science. They also advanced algebra, a word that itself comes from the Arabic al-Jabr, from the title of a book by the great mathematician al-Khwarizmi. In astronomy, they built advanced observatories and created incredibly accurate astronomical tables that were used by European navigators for centuries. Even Columbus reportedly used instruments and charts based on Moorish knowledge for his voyages. Then there's medicine. While European medicine was often based on superstition, Moorish physicians were practicing a far more scientific approach. They built hospitals, established medical schools, and required examinations for doctors to be licensed. The physician Al-Zahrawi, known in the West as Abulcasis, wrote a comprehensive medical encyclopedia that was a standard textbook in Europe for 500 years. He invented over 200 surgical instruments, including the forceps, the scalpel, and surgical needles, many of which are still recognizable today. They also made huge strides in pharmacology, developing new drugs and anesthetics. The knowledge of hygiene and public health was also far more advanced. Moorish cities had streetlights, paved roads, and complex systems of aqueducts and public baths at a time when cities like London and Paris were dark, muddy, and unsanitary. These ideas about sanitation and public works slowly filtered into the rest of Europe. But the influence wasn't just intellectual. It was woven into the very fabric of daily life. Let's talk about agriculture. The Moors introduced a whole host of new crops to Europe that we now take for granted. Oranges, lemons, peaches, apricots, figs, sugarcane, cotton, rice, and saffron. They also brought sophisticated irrigation techniques like the water wheel or noria, which transformed the arid lands of Spain into some of the most fertile in Europe. This agricultural revolution not only changed the European diet, but also boosted the economy. Many English words related to these new things come directly from Arabic. Orange, lemon, sugar, saffron, and cotton are just a few examples. Even the word check made in chess, a game popularized in Europe through the Moors, has Arabic roots. And of course, we can't talk about the Moors without mentioning their breathtaking architecture. If you've ever seen the Alhambra in Granada or the Great Mosque of Cordoba, you know what I'm talking about. They brought with them distinctive architectural styles characterized by intricate geometric patterns, stunning tilework known as azulejos, horseshoe arches, and serene courtyards with fountains. This style, often called Moorish or Mudejar architecture, didn't just stay in Spain. It influenced architectural styles across Europe, particularly in Spain, Portugal, and Sicily. You can see echoes of it in the pointed arches that became a hallmark of Gothic architecture and in the decorative details found in buildings far from the Iberian Peninsula. These weren't just buildings, they were masterpieces of art and engineering, designed to create a sense of peace, beauty, and harmony with nature. The cultural influence extended to music and poetry as well. The Moors introduced new instruments, like the lute, which is the ancestor of the modern guitar, and new poetic forms and musical traditions. The troubadours of medieval France, famous for their songs of courtly love, were heavily influenced by the poetic traditions of Al-Andalus. This cultural cross-pollination created a rich and diverse artistic landscape that forever changed European music and literature. So, when we think about the history of Europe, it's crucial to remember the vital role played by the Moors in Al-Andalus. They didn't just occupy a piece of land, they created a dynamic, multicultural society that became a beacon of light during a time of darkness elsewhere. They preserved ancient wisdom, pioneered new scientific discoveries, and enriched European culture in countless ways. From the numbers we use every day to the food we eat and the words we speak, their legacy is all around us. It's a powerful reminder that history is not a simple story of one culture dominating another, but a complex and fascinating tapestry woven from many different threads. The story of the Moors is a testament to the incredible things that can happen when different cultures come together to share knowledge and build something new. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this journey into history as fascinating as I did, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next video. What part of Moorish influence surprised you the most? Let me know in the comments below. See you next time.